guesses.
No, I still bind it.
Black.
Okay, we call this regular city council meeting to order, and we'll start with the roll call, please.
Mayor Truitt.
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Villanueva, excuse me.
Here.
Councilmember Alton.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here somewhere.
Councilmember Williams is here.
I heard him say he's here.
Here.
Yes.
Councilmember Hall.
Here.
Councilmember Longabaugh.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If everybody would rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll begin with our current events report, starting with the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd
I think so.
to start out by saying the fire chief has gotten together with the communications department, Surprise Channel 11, to develop a frequently asked questions regarding fire issues. They will be broadcast. Just keep your eye out on Channel 11. I wanted to commend Ken Lynch and his crew again. Channel 11 is really one of the best, I think, out there. And it offers a lot of insight and information on what's going on in the city of Surprise. So thank you, Ken, and thank you to the fire chief. I'll let the rest of the ones that got some pictures in the paper go over the Fire Ops 101 classes. But that I wanted to thank the fire department for that also. It let us try out a brief physical requirements that they go through and educational requirements that they go through. So I wanted to thank them for that also. Movie night at the baseball theater. It's rated G. It's Kung Fu Panda. Gates will open at 6, and the movie will start at 6:30. Admission is free with a canned food item. And bring your blanket and pillow and your kids and have fun. It's really neat time. Next, the Surprise Tennis and Racket Complex just completed the campus championships. There were 64 teams of 10 members apiece, and it was played in the World Team Tennis format where you played women's doubles, women's singles, men's doubles, and then mixed doubles. They were all Division I colleges from throughout the United States, 64 teams, their coaches, their parents, and it was really great. I know Councilmember Alton got out there, saw him. I don't know if he was looking at the college girls, but it was a fun event. It was the hotels were filled. I heard nothing but positive things about it. And now they're going with the super seniors and the seniors, and they're still filled. So all the room nights are going pretty well with the hotels and the economic development, which is good for the facility. Let me see. Next, I'll let you go over the. I don't like to take a lot for Councilman Alton. He always says if he goes last, but a real brief description of the speed world out there, and thank you to Dan Matthews for taking me on the tour. I'll let another council member just give you a in-depth description of what's out there. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just first, a quick thank you to all the volunteers. I'm just going to run through a couple names. There are a bunch of landscaping crews out there for Pride Day. I'm talking about this past Saturday. We identified about 400 properties, and a ton of people came out. Carescape, a big thank you to them. They came out with their entire fleet, I think, and they volunteered their time. Chick-fil-A volunteered 400 or donated 400 chicken sandwiches. Dunkin' Donuts with coffee, Ritter's, Culver's with gift certificates, a number of restaurants, Carrabba's, Nick's Diner, Arizona Charter Academy came out with their students, the Dice Art Key Club, AAM, City Properties, and Sun City Grand had a slew of volunteers, the Firefighters Association, and Broadme, and there were a bunch of volunteers. So thank you so much to everybody that came out, everybody that contributed, everybody that chipped in. I'm still working on figuring out how many properties we exactly hit. I don't know if we hit all of them, but at the next council meeting, I'll let everybody know. So a big thank you. And then, Mayor, for the rest of my time for current events, I'd like to welcome member of our youth leadership group who's working on a community project, and she'd like to talk to the council about that.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City staff. My name is Alexandra Rivera, and I am part of the Youth Leadership Academy. My group consists of Natalie Garcia, Alyssa Lusting, along with our mentors, Ms. Jean Blackman and Ms. Connie Lord. We are raising awareness of the consequences of destructive decisions, particularly as it relates to drunk driving. And we are asking for your support to get the word out about the new SAD chapter, Students Against Destructive Decisions, that we are starting here in Surprise. Our event is at Sierra Montana Recreation Center on May 2nd from 11 to 3. And here's a flyer for each of you. And thank you very much for your support.
Thank you very much. And unfortunately, the council has a budget retreat on that weekend, but we would encourage residents to drop in at the Sierra Montana Recreation Center and see, what great things our youth are doing in our community. And, we have Pride Cleanup Day, and we have our youth that are really getting involved to help improve our community. And what we'd like to do is, if you could come back up here, we can take a photo of you, maybe just stand over in here, and that way you can commemorate your time before the council this evening. If you'll turn around maybe, and then, hey, don't cover up Mr. Williams' sign.
Mayor, she'd have to be pretty wide to cover up all of John.
Okay, thank you very much. Best of luck to you. Mr. Williams, I think you still have some time.
All right. Well, thanks for the fire hops. Fire ops, we went through a training, and I burned my helmet, and my face mask melted, and it was a really a great experience because it really puts you in their shoes. I've never been a fireman. I had dreams when I was a kid, and I fulfilled those dreams. And I after that day, I appreciate being in the classroom now. So thank you to those guys, and thank you for that event. That's all I got.
Okay,
Thanks,
and you guys all know when that commercial. I know. Let's send Mikey. Well, we send John. Good job, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I participated in the Western Heritage Trail grant writing strategy meeting. There was John Langelier from the Charlotte Hall Museum in Prescott, and Marianne Archibald, who's president of Western Trails Association, and Megan Griego and myself. We had a very productive meeting. There's some real good grant opportunities for both Western Heritage Trails and economic development as it relates to tourism. So I, too, participated in the fire training at the Fire Training Center, and I'd like to thank all the firemen who helped me through the scenarios. One of the toughest things was getting on the truck. It was amazing. Forget about the fire. Anyway, it was a great learning experience, and I want to thank the firemen that helped me along. The mayor and the city manager, Randy Oliver, Mark Carnota, and myself had a progress meeting with YMCA, and they are evaluating our proposal for the near future, and we discussed feasibility and location possibilities in North Surprise past 2010. So I think we made some progress. I also attended the Memorial Day Parade committee meeting, and the staff and the volunteers that are on that committee are doing a great job, and they're making a lot of progress. Channel 11 will be interviewing Mark Carnado regarding all the happenings on Parade Day, which is May 23rd, which is the Saturday before Memorial Day. So hope to see you all there. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Longabaugh.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I'd like to announce is that after many years and a lot of travail, it was announced this morning that the county has worked with BNSF and the quiet zone is going into effect at midnight tonight at Meeker and at R.H. Johnson. So people at Sun City West and Sun City Grand, we finally got what we've been working on for about 5 years that I'm aware of, from when the first inklings of can we get a quiet zone in that area or not. And it was announced just today that the county, Mr. Wilson, the chair of the current County Board of Supervisors, announced that agreement has been reached, and the train whistles are going to stop. So I think that's a wonderful thing out in our area, and I think it shows some cooperation of the federal government and the railroad. Secondly, Citizens Surprise account now log on to a website from the city and get some current information about crimes that are happening in their neighborhood. They can log on to www.crimemapping.com and put in their address and put in a mileage around their house and find out what's been occurring, either by type of crime or by date of the crimes, and be able to check out what's going on in their neighborhood. We would like to emphasize, however, that this information should be a way of people getting involved in their community and not just being, shall we say, voyeurs to find out what's going on for entertainment purposes, but to actually know how maybe they can stop the crimes by getting involved in the neighborhood watch program if they don't already have one, or if they have one, to support one in their neighborhood. Also, the police department is hosting on May 5th a meeting with all the pastors that have been invited of all the churches here in Surprise, so that the police department and the church representatives can work out compromises as to how each can help each other in policing the community and also working with people in the religious community. I think it's an excellent opportunity for both sides to listen to each other and hear out exactly what they can support and help each other in keeping the public safe. Lastly, I was very honored to attend again the Northwest Citizens Group up in Whitman about 2 weeks ago. And one of the main speaker who was invited was Latoya Finch from BNSF Railroad. And she gave a very extensive presentation as to the railroad's current position, current plans as to what that rail yard may be doing. The earliest she said that the railroad is going to be coming to the city for annexation is probably December of 2010 now. It may even be delayed from there. And the earliest they will be building anything at the rail yard would be probably late 2014 or 15. So it's a long way out, but the residents were, I think, very friendly to her. They were willing to listen and find out what exactly the railroad's up about. And community-wise, as far as the City of Surprise is concerned, the reason it's very important for us is if that rail yard is built, we have a good chance, I think, of developing a commuter rail system south of that all the way to Phoenix. But without that being built, it's going to be very difficult for them to break down their 91-car trains anywhere south of that area, and therefore the trains would block the chances for a commuter rail system to be really developed out here. I went through this with Southern Pacific in California, doing the same thing between Gilroy and San Francisco, and it took a long time to negotiate with the railroads to be able to get smaller trains so that gives space on the rails for commuter rail to work properly. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Villanueva.
Yeah, it's out of commission for a couple of weeks, so I don't have any report at this time.
Well, we'd like to welcome you back, and we're glad to see you here with us.
Thank you.
I, too, had an opportunity to go to the Fire Academy, as you all saw in the paper. I'm sorry that my picture was the only one in there. I had a great time, learned an awful lot, and actually realized what the fire crew goes through in a very small manner, but because they do so much more than we could have possibly even fathomed that particular Saturday. I was thinking about joining the fire department, but they don't have anybody my age that is actively working on a truck. So I have to talk to a few folks and see if we can get change that policy a little bit.
It'll be the physical, Richard. It'll be the physical that gets it.
Had an opportunity to go to the bond committee meeting, as I've done throughout the entire process, and it's moving along. I really do thank the committee members for enduring everything that they have gone through. Had an opportunity also to go up to Speed World and tour that facility. I never knew, since living in Surprise, that there was a drag strip only about 10 miles away from us. As a kid, I used to race cars sometimes on the street, but most of the time in drag strips. And I'm looking forward to an opportunity to go up there and attend one of those races. But not only that, but they have a campus that probably has 5 or 6 different tracks for off-road vehicles, all-terrain vehicles, motorcycles, you name it. And you know, we're all concerned about the PM10 issue, that we have to keep our particular matters down. And what a place, because they have something like 7 water trucks that they use on the facility at all times. They're going around watering the tracks. And, you know, instead of going out in the desert and raising up all the loose soil, this is an opportunity for everybody to take part in their off-road vehicle recreation activities in a space that is well taken care of and meets the PM10 requirements. I went to the Pride Day kickoff. I was unable to work as I almost killed myself last year, so I thought it would be best maybe just not to participate, but I went to the kickoff. There was an awful lot of people there. I thank you very much to the citizens of Surprise that helped out. Had an opportunity yesterday to go to the Surprise Justice Court Employee Appreciation Awards. This is my 2nd year of attending that activity, and you know, it's like a family within a family. These folks really do a great job in our court system, and it's always it's great to be able to hand out the awards. Mr. Longabaugh and I participated in that, and that's about it.
Well, thank you very much. Speed World also offers racing of remote control planes, remote control cars, BMX bikes, and they got mud bogs. So Mr. Alton is correct. Pretty much everything is covered over there. They're on TV on a regular basis. One show is called Racing for Pinks. And being from Southern California, I remember what Racing for Pinks was all about.
Yes.
On April 25th, the same night that Kung Fu Panda is playing at the stadium, my personal Compassionate Surprise project is going on right next to the stadium, the Relay for Life. And what we're going to do is invite all those who go to the movie over at the stadium to come over and bounce in the inflatables and to have a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of entertainment there that's going to just be a great time for our residents to gather. I'm committed to being there for 12 hours from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and we have to have at least one member of our team on the track at all times. And so hopefully...
Be sleeping?
Yeah, well, probably will be. So if any of you folks would like to just come out and take a couple laps around the track, it doesn't cost anything, and you'll have a good time. There's lots of entertainment. And if you want to support a great and worthwhile cause, then American Cancer Society Relay for Life is certainly that. So I invite you all. Had the opportunity to go to the presentation of the Man and Woman of the Year as presented by Phoenix Leadership, and our own Denise Resnick was the recipient of Woman of the Year. When I say our own, she's not a Surprise resident, but she does represent Surprise at GPEC, a very influential woman who has done a lot for the community and has a lot of great contacts, and she's utilizing those contacts on behalf of our city. So it was a pleasure to go see her receive such an honor as the one that she received. So that concludes my report. We'll move to the city manager.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to meet with the Transportation Commission, and the purpose of that was to try to define an agenda that would help the city move its transportation items forward, and I think we've got a course, and we're going to have some dialogue back and forth to do that.
Great.
I was at the GO Bond Committee meeting. I would note the next meeting is Tuesday, the 28th, at the Municipal Court Building. It starts at 6:30 for people that are interested. They're busy in the midst of deciding what they're going to do, whether they're going to make a recommendation, and if so, what projects. Participated in the Pride Day cleanup. I would like to also add for people that may be listening or in the audience that we now have all the boards and commissions, agendas, and minutes on the web. There was it makes it so we now have a uniform system. So what I want to do is anybody can go and check what's going to be on the agenda for a board or commission as well as the minutes. We are not going backward, however, we are going forward. So it will be future things, but it started this month, and those are out there. Jeff Mihalik and I had an opportunity to meet with a gentleman, and I see him in the audience tonight, that has a new German restaurant on Bell Avenue, and wish him a lot of success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll go to call the public. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak on any non-agendized item?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Then we move on to consent agenda. Is there any council person that has a question or would like to discuss any item on consent? If not, may I have an action?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to mention that the liquor license for that's on the agenda was approved on consent, and you're welcome to leave if you'd like.
Thank you.
Have you ever seen
Now, if
pink slips on TV?
No.
For the drag race?
No, that's what they were talking. They do it up there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I've been out there a couple of times.
Wow.
Yeah.
okay, let's read item number 20.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and action on the appointment of chair and vice chair for the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you. The council took some action sometime past to create a board of adjustment. So if there's a question that comes before this body and or from P&Z that there's some concerns about, then we have a board of adjustments that can listen to those concerns and make a recommendation. We're going to be appointing, as I understand it, 5 gentlemen. Are any of them in the audience?
No, they've been, Mayor, they were appointed last fall.
Okay, and what we're doing is
We're required
naming
to
the chair and the
appoint
vice
chair and
chair.
vice chair only.
Chair will be Jerry Matney, and the vice chair, Larry Poignier or Poignier.
Make a motion.
May I have an action on that, please?
So moved.
Second.
Cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Mayor.
Very much. And if you'll read item 21.
Thank you. Consideration and action on the first reading of ordinance number 09-21, an ordinance amending sections 2-295 through 2-304 pertaining to boards, committees, and commissions.
Okay, I believe this doesn't require a motion. It goes to a second reading. Is that correct? Okay,
Move to
is there any
approve
discussion?
ordinance 09-21 to second reading.
Second.
Please cast your vote. You guys are getting very, very good at this.
Oops, I need a couple. I'm sorry. Could you please vote again? I was missing a couple. Longabaugh and Johnson.
I am sorry. Thought I already
Mr.
did.
Johnson. Unanimous vote.
Okay, there we go. Number 22.
Consideration and action on resolution number 09-88, approving the IGA between the City of Surprise and the City of El Mirage for the intersection improvements of Dysart and Thunderbird Waddell Roads.
My understanding is that this has been a long-standing project and a commitment between the City of El Mirage and the City of Surprise. The City of El Mirage, within the last couple of days, has approved this agreement. There are performance dates that are set forth in the agreement where if certain things aren't performed, the money comes back. I would note that the money goes into an escrow account and it's dispersed according to the pro rata formula of the contribution of the parties. The city currently has $1.3 million budgeted for this particular project. The total city contribution is $2.3 million. And my understanding is that was the agreement that was previously reached, and we wanted to honor that verbal commitment. The appropriation of the additional $1 million in this agreement it says that it's subject to appropriation by the council because we can't obligate something before budget's approved. So if the city council during the budget discussions and the budget books have been distributed, the draft budget provides for $1 million in the budget for this particular project. But if council elected not to include that in the final budget, that would nullify this agreement. It's subject to what's called a covenant to budget this, so that if it isn't budgeted, the agreement fails to proceed forward. With that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions, council?
Just reading through it, El Mirage has the responsibility of getting the right-of-ways. Have they been working on that, or are they going to have a difficult time getting that?
They have represented that they've been working on it. The city staff, along with Councilmember Williams, worked very hard relating to 84 Lumber to get that right away. They sent us an email either today or yesterday, their attorney did, indicating that they thought that that was eminently forthcoming. I think they've got another piece of property that they have to get for that right-of-way, or this project won't go forward. The agreement specifically provides that if they don't get all the right-of-way by a certain date, that this agreement does not proceed forward. But they are representing to us at this time that they believe that they can get it. Obviously, they can get it through condemnation if they want. That process typically takes several months.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Mr. Alton.
There's a railroad spur that goes through that intersection. Has El Mirage, are they the leader on this project?
El Mirage is 100% responsible for the management of this project. The City of Surprise's contribution is capped at $2.3 million.
Okay.
We've told them that they take all risk of cost overruns.
Okay. And they are the ones that communicate with BNSF?
That is correct, and we have not been involved in those discussions, but they've indicated that they've had discussions with BNSF. I cannot answer what the status of those discussions are.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson.
Through the chair. What would happen when it becomes more than when the project goes over budget and they've already exhausted all the funds that both cities has put in and they cannot finish the intersection? Do we get our money back, or what happens to our contributions once it's spent and they don't finish the project, if that happens?
What the agreement provides for is that they're responsible for any cost overruns. And the current engineer's estimate, I don't remember the exact figure, but I think it's 6.7 or 7 point something million dollars is the total estimate. But whatever it is, our contribution's capped at 2.3. What happens is that the money will be deposited before the construction starts into an escrow account. The money will be dispersed based on the pro rata portion of that. So if our contribution was 25% and their contribution was 75% of the money, to make the numbers easy for me, and the first payment was $1 million, $750,000 would come from them and $250,000 from us. And it would continue on that way. It would be based upon the engineer's estimate of completion. What would happen in your particular case is the engineer's estimate of completion would be wrong, and what theoretically could happen would be that El Mirage would not be able to complete it, but all the money in the account would not be depleted. But under the agreement, we would have the right to sue them for specific performance if we wanted to. But there was nothing in the agreement which requires a performance bond, which you would do with a contractor, and that's typically considered atypical with another governmental entity. But if that's something council wanted to pursue, we could pursue that.
I'm just saying that's why they have performance bonds, and you know that and I know that. But in this case, we don't have one, and I'm just fearful that, well, we'll see if they get the right of way and everything, but I'm just fearful that it's going to cost more and we'll have all our money spent and we won't have an intersection improved. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Through the chair. I just want to the original agreement was we pay 25% because we have 1 out of 4 approaches, right? Our approach is Waddell.
We have one of the 4 approaches.
Okay. So the engineering department recommended that we stay with the 25%. El Mirage pays 75%. So what we're doing here is we're kicking in another 13.5%.
There is a little amount additional that we are kicking in. What was originally, and this dates back, I think the original agreement was 2002 or 2003 when this started, and the money was originally set aside. To be fair, there are a couple of complicating factors to this. Normally, that's the standard breakdown, 75-25. There was discussion with some of my predecessors about the additional $1 million. We were able to verify that it was the additional $1 million, but to be fair to them, the other thing is that the railroad portion is on our side of the intersection, and there are, additional costs associated with the railroad portion of this.
I see. So we're kind of splitting the difference. I mean, the 42% really isn't the right number here. It's really 38.5% in the staff report. So we're really splitting the difference. We're saying it was 25%. They wanted 50%. We're kind of splitting the difference.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
They wanted 50-50.
Yeah, they wanted 50-50. Right.
May I have an action?
Move to provide GA between Surprise and El Mirage for the Dysart and Thunderbird/Waddell intersection improvements.
Second.
Further discussion? If not, please cast your vote. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Unanimous vote, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 23, I think, is back to you, Mr. Oliver.
Item number 23 would establish a residency requirement for department directors and up within the city of Surprise. It would grandfather in all the existing people within the city, and it would only be applicable to them if they elected to move from their current residence. I would note that most cities, I can only name a handful of cities that do not require the city manager to live in the city. And this is my personal belief. My personal belief is that you can't be an integral part of the fabric of the city if you don't live in the city that you manage. But this would become effective July the 1st, the way this is set up, and that was done to coincide with, a definable point in time, and it coincides with the beginning of the city's city's budget year.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, may I have an action?
I'd like to change some of these times, and I think the wording could be a little different on some of them. I think 12 months is quite a long time. I've been on council for about 60, and I've seen 3 different city managers, 3 different HR directors, 2 different city managers, 3 different city attorneys, 3 different HR directors, 3 community development directors, 3 public works directors. My point is 12 months plus a 6-month extension would pretty much take all of those that were, I mean, it's a moot point to me. If we leave it for 12 months to be a resident of Surprise, I think it's these are very important positions for our city, just like these council seats are. We have a dramatic impact on what happens, and so do these positions. And 12 months, I just think is too long. I'd like to see it 6 months. I'd like to see the city manager actually is included in this, Randy, in the appointed positions. So if there's any extension, I would either think it would come to council, or because you might be the one that wants an extension and you're not going to ask yourself, I don't think. So I would like to see any extensions be granted by the city council. So that's something that I would say I would want to change. And only after they've shown evidence that they've tried to actually reside in Surprise. The next thing is I think that the last paragraph where it says within 12 months from date of hire, it should be or the qualifying event listed in D1 and 2, because they may be already here, and the qualifying event may be them trying to move, right? So shouldn't it say not only date of hire, but the qualifying event down there? Michael?
Well,
That's more of a
I mean,
technical question.
it's semantics,
'Cause
yes.
you
But I
don't-
mean,
you
that's
don't
how
have
it
it-
reads.
Like you and anybody that's there are grandfathered in, but you have qualifying events. So it's
Correct.
not going to be within your date of hire. Because,
Correct. It would be until one of the following
Right.
occurs, which would be the permanent, and that's
So it would be date of hire, qualifying event in item D1 and 2, right?
right. It'd be your date of hire or one of the qualifying
So I
events.
think we should add or the qualifying event listed in D1 and 2.
Mr. Oliver.
I would offer the following as an example, and this was the reason for the 12-month or the 12-month. You have somebody that you hire, and let's say that somebody is from out of state even. Somebody gets hired in September or October. They have kids in school where they are. They want the kids to finish the school year, which would be in June, or perhaps they have a house to sell. It may take them, 3-4 months. Right now, the housing market's not that strong. This parallels what many cities have as it relates to the ordinance, the decision about whether the exceptions come back to council. That's up to you. But I would recommend the 12 months because I think that they're valid reasons for the 12 months. I think 6 months makes it pretty tight.
Can I?
Oh.
I would say if we do that, then maybe we go with 3 months extension at council's, at the approval of council. Then that'd leave a total of 15.
Okay, so you're suggesting that we change item B?
I would say we change.
City council may grant an extension of time to establish residency under this section not to exceed 3 months?
3 months, yep. So that'd leave 15 months.
Okay, let's deal with that right now. Anybody have an objection to that change?
So we strike city manager and say city council?
Right, let me read it for you. According to my understanding of Mr. Johnson, is the city council may grant an extension of time to establish residency under this section not to exceed 3 months.
I just want the council to make sure they understand that you will then be making human resource decisions.
Yep. Oh.
To the extent that you would be making a decision to terminate somebody's employment, of which our ordinance states that you have no authority to do so.
All we're approving is the extension.
But if you don't approve the extension, you would in effect be terminating somebody's employment because they didn't meet the ordinance. That's the concern. Is if you granted the extensions, there's not a problem. If you don't grant the extension, you're in effect terminating them. I just want you to consider that.
Okay, it's our city attorney's suggestion that we don't change, that we do have it be the city manager may grant an extension, and we just reduce the date to...
That would be my
3
recommendation.
months. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, but then what do we do with the city manager if the city manager doesn't do that, Michael? Who follows?
City manager, city attorney, city clerk, and city courts, the judges and the associate judges, different ballgame in light of the fact that we're appointed and we are all under an employment contract. So
Okay,
arguably the rules of the game are even different with those 5-6 positions.
Okay, so do we have consensus that we leave it the city manager?
Yes.
And we adjust the 6-month period to a 3-month period?
That's all right. Through the chair, I understand Joe's concern, or Councilman Johnson's concern, but I like the way it's written, and I like the research that the city manager did with other cities. I mean, I think Gilbert's a great city. I think Chandler's a great city. I think Tempe's a great city, and they have these residence requirements at all these cities. And some of them are shorter, some of them are longer, but I think we've got a good happy medium here. So I like it the way it's written.
Well, through the chair, proof's in the pudding, and I just listed the ones that I just came up with in writing down my comments to this ordinance, how many I've seen in the different departments. So like I said, it's probably a moot point then if we go that long, Skip, because they would have been moved out and not required, and they would have moved on to a different job. So our intent isn't doing what it should. So that's why I'm saying I just think it's we got to be concerned with that.
And let me throw this in. Residency does not mean home ownership. It means somebody can come and rent an apartment or a condo or a house here, and they would then be meeting their residency requirements. And so I think if we applied that understanding to some of those positions, it might look a little bit different. Okay, so we have two, Councilman Hall has just suggested that we not make any adjustments. Mr. Johnson, or can you live with that?
I'd still like it at least to reduce to 3. That makes it 15 months, which in my opinion is more than reasonable. Like you said, residency just means that they can rent a house. I mean, we gave Randy, you were renting a place. We gave you some, we gave you that in your contract. So I think I actually think it's more than gracious to go 12 and 3.
Okay, we've got two divergent opinions here, so let's vote on it.
From either one of them.
Pardon me?
We just need a motion from either one of them if they want to set it up.
Actually, my motion is first, so I would say we go with 3 and go with 3 and change it.
Do we have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. May I have a motion?
I move to approve for the first reading of ordinance 09-20.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote.
6 yes vote, 1 no vote. Johnson?
Item number 24.
Consideration and action to appoint members of the City of Surprise Transportation Commission to terms of office.
Somebody knows these guys.
Okay, and I was going to suggest that to avoid controversy, we're going to be appointing 3 to 2-year terms and
4 to 4-year terms.
Yeah, how should we do
yet,
that?
let's see, shall be appointed for 2-year terms
3
and
to
then the
2
rest
and
4-year
4
terms.
to 4. 4 to 4 and 3 to 2.
Okay, my suggestion is that we just go alphabetically, and the first 4 in the alphabet get the 4, and the
That's
second.
fine with me.
Okay?
Yep.
Are you guys in agreement?
Yeah, that's fine.
Any further discussion? City Clerk,
Actually,
do you understand
Mayor,
the action that's being
excuse
taken?
me, Mayor, you mean the first 3, which would be Mr. Baxter, Gregory, and Edwards would get a 2-year term,
Okay.
and then the last 4 would get a 4-year term?
Right.
Okay.
Is that alphabetical order?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Oh, it isn't, actually.
It's not
We're just
alphabetical.
going to go according to this.
The order is not alphabetical.
Okay, we're going to go with Mr. Longabaugh's suggestion.
We'll just do, well, that's the simple way. I mean,
That's the simple way.
What they asked.
you got
Further
that, Sherry?
discussion?
Yes.
I was just wondering, Mayor, if they were asked themselves among these people who would prefer 4 and 2. Were they ever asked? They weren't? Why not?
Or a dictatorship.
Sorry, I just want to know why they weren't asked if some would prefer 2 and some would prefer 4. Can somebody answer that? I mean, that's the first thing when I look at this.
Councilmember, I'll speak to it. I don't know in terms of whether or not they were contacted or not, but I can tell you that with the majority of the ordinances that council's considered tonight regarding boards, commissions, and committees, they all kind of came out of the idea that Transportation Committee, which originally started as an ad hoc committee, and when it was formed, there were not terms, and so we're just trying to address that term aspect without any. And I think the mayor's done so without any deference to qualifications or not. We're just trying to set an arbitrary start point and end point. This does not decrease anybody's ability because nobody is restricted to a set number of terms.
Well, through your chair, my question also is that this has been going on for a long time. This commission, it was revived a year ago, but there was some existing members of that commission or that committee prior to us taking office in council. What I would suggest is those people who have been on the longest are a 2-year term, and the ones that have been on the shortest period of time have it 4.
We have a couple of suggestions. Do I have a motion?
I move to,
Good luck.
Oh, excuse me, Councilman Wade, did you make a motion on this?
Or you did earlier.
Yeah, I did.
Who seconded?
Nobody.
No second?
I never heard a motion. But
Let-
I didn't hear a motion either.
The motion for us, please.
Actually,
It's a
Councilmember
bunch of
Villanueva
blanks.
made the motion after Longabough's suggestions.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't
I
hear
didn't
that
hear a
either.
second.
Okay, do we have a
I
second?
can second it. Just
We got
let's
a
vote
motion
on it
and a
see what
second.
happens.
Further discussion?
I'll second that the first three as listed get a, well, they're not really alphabetical because the last two people are out of order alphabetically.
Right.
So it's just the first three as listed on this list of membership
Would
get a
be,
2-year term. The last 4 get a 4-year term. And by the way, having served on a commission, and several of us have, if they don't want to stay 4 years, they can quit. I mean, they're free to leave if they wish to, so it's not requiring them to stay 4 more years.
Okay, motion and a second. Please cast your vote.
Right? I mean, seriously.
6 yes vote, 1 no vote. Johnson?
I want to serve a month, they can quit tomorrow. I mean, what the heck people do, in my experience.
Item number 25.
Thank you. Consideration and action, adopting the City of Surprise 2009-2010 Annual Action Plan Community Development Block Grant. This is presented by Christina Ramirez.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm here to present the final public hearing with regard to the Community Development Block Grant project priority for funding year 2009-2010. Staff is recommending approval of funding the pedestrian walkability project, the connectivity project within the original town site that has the intent of increasing connectivity from the neighborhood to local retail and neighborhood amenities. We are also requesting approval of the consolidated plan amendment where we are designating the Community Development Block Grant Board be the new reviewing body of all issues associated to CDBG starting July 1st. And we also just wanted to point out that the allocation has not been finalized to us yet, so we do not have a final number. We believe it to be in the neighborhood of $360,000, where 80% of the funding will be used to fund the actual project and 20% will be used to assist with any administrative costs that are incurred in the implementation of the grant. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion, Council?
I think through the chair, you guys did a great job with this. And for me, I like list A. Okay? That's just my feedback. I think we need lighting on that pedestrian path. Anyway.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, may I have an action, please?
I move to adopt the City of Surprise. Is that right? Yeah. Adopt the City of Surprise fiscal year 2009-2010 annual action plan and authorize the city manager to execute a grant agreement with the Department of Housing and Urban Development upon acceptance of such plan.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. This item does require a call to the public. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak, I now open it up to the public.
Saber.
City Clerk, do we have somebody?
Yes, we have Sabra Van Cleef.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff. I'm Sabra Van Cleef. I live at 12350 West Bowler Drive, the Cosita Senior Apartments on the east side of this building. I've been before you before, and you know I'm an advocate for those who have mobility aids and being able to get around in this area between El Mirage Road and the Crossroads Shopping Center. I've worked with the city over a year, and we have placed ramps in the proper places to get to Lizard Run. But I'm addressing this. I'm all for this plan. I hope the funding is there. It's very much needed. We need to get people out of the street on Smoky Drive. I have walked this area. It'll be 5 years in June, so I know it very well. But I have 3 comments I want to make according to this. I got from Christine before, when I was here before, the information, and I was looking it over. I strongly suggest that you do not use a stamped sidewalk, that the sidewalk be a flat, smooth surface throughout. For those in electric chairs and scooters. It's no fun riding on something that's not smooth. I know it's more costly, but it's very important. And also, if you're riding a bike or the mothers with the strollers, it's better not to have a non-smooth surface for those with wheels. In another state, I had training at a care facility, and we had to practice in the wheelchairs. And believe me, you don't want a wobbly or a stamped surface. You want a smooth surface. Number 2, this walk is planned to go from El Mirage Road down the Crossroads Shopping Center. You're going to cross Village Drive east and west. And right now there's brick right down the middle of the street. We do not want anyone going over the brick. A few years ago, we had a member of our building who doesn't live there anymore who came over here to work part-time when the fire department had their administrative offices here. And she went over the brick and wrecked her scooter and had to get another one. So I said something to the city, and the Public Works Department was very kind to come out and asphalt all around our area on both sides of Village Road where people can go in and out of driveways and so forth, and we don't have that trouble anymore. And the third thing I want to point out is when you do the sidewalks on Smoky Drive, that you be sure that every driveway, and there are 9 on the north side and 5 on the south side of Smoky Drive, has ramps and the yellow truncated strips so that everybody knows that this is, accessible to the handicap. And my goal is to see this whole area accessible for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would ask staff to make contact with this lady and discuss some of those issues. And appreciate it. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on this item? Seeing no one, I close the call to the public. Any further discussion, council? If not, please cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it takes more time to.
Item number 26.
Consideration and action on resolution number 09-75, resolution approving a minor general plan map amendment for Lone Mountain Retail.
Good morning, Mayor, council members. I'd like to formally request to combine items number 26, 27, and 28 into one presentation, but keep in mind the actions will require separate actions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We'll keep that in mind.
By the way, it's also not morning anymore, Bart.
The proposal tonight before you is for Lone Mountain Retail, which is a 2 parcels, about 7.5 acres, that is located approximately 2,000 feet north of the 303 along Grand Avenue on the south side. For some context, you can see that this is right across the street from the Asante PAD and on line with the 163rd Avenue. I'd also like to point out that there are frontage roads along this area that would service these parcels. Presently, the existing land use in the general plan is open space for these areas, and these being along Grand Avenue and partially zoned commercial, the request is to change this proposed land use to employment. The existing zone on these are typical of what is found up and down of Grand Avenue, with the split zoning of that 200-foot strip of C2 and the rest residential R143. This proposal is taking the one site to the north and making that business park to be consistent with the 2 parcels beside it that were changed to business park, and the southern part to C2, consistent with the northern half of that parcel. That concludes my presentation, barring any questions you may have for me or the applicant.
Thank you. Any questions, council? Okay, then let's start with item number 26.
I move to approve resolution number 09-75.
Second. Motion and a second. This item does require a call to the public. I hereby open this to the public. If there's anybody from the public who would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing no one, I close the call to the public. Further discussion? Please cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 27, an action.
I move to approve the first reading of ordinance 09-14.
Motion and a second. This item also requires a call to the public. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak, please step forward. Seeing no one, I close the call to the public. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to 28.
Move to approve the first reading of ordinance 09-15.
Second.
And again, this requires a call to the public. I hereby open this to the public. If there's anybody that would like to speak, please step forward. Seeing no one, I close the call to the public. Further discussion? Please cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Mayor.
Okay, we'll do it one more time. Item number 29.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good for you.
My second presentation tonight is for the Grand and Joe Max Commercial Center, RZ08311. This parcel 2 is located along Grand Avenue. This is about 4 miles north of 303 and 200 feet south of Joe Max Road. Grand Avenue. This is adjacent to the county parcel. The Asante PAD is also across the street, across Grand Avenue on this parcel. Rio Rancho PAD is to the south, and this parcel is located in the center here. Now, the land use for this is commercial. This was a commercial core in the general plan, so this fits in well with the proposed rezoning for this. Currently, this as well has the split zoning. The front 200 feet is the C2, and the rest is R143. That concludes my presentation, barring any questions for me or the applicant.
Thank you very much. Any discussion, Council?
Move to approve the first reading of ordinance 09-16.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This item also requires a call to the public. I hereby open this to the public. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak, please step forward. Seeing no one, I close the call to the public. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 30. Consideration and action for items to be placed on future agendas. Council, any items? No? Then we'll move on to item number 31. I believe we do have a need to go to executive session, but I don't think we're going to be taking any action. So my question for you, besides city manager and yourself, Mr. Bailey, and city clerk, is there anybody else that's required to be in our executive session? In that case, anybody else that's part of staff is free to leave. We will be coming back simply to close the meeting, but there will be no action taken. Thank you very much.
I need a motion second to go
Oh,
executive.
Second.
Yes? Everybody say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
For more information, check out the website surpriseaz.com/tennis or